And if there's a motion to adopt those, we'll entertain it.
Motion. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are adopted. Item number 1, under new business, stop loss health insurance coverage from Highmark for FY24. Miss, do I pronounce it Herbert or Abear?
It's Herbert.
Herbert. Oh, Miss Herbert.
Yes, sir. Each year we come requesting approval to either obtain new stop loss coverage or renew. We're asking to renew with Highmark. We've had a Highmark during this fiscal year, and we're asking to continue that for FY24. The rate actually went down slightly. Monthly, prior it was $50.42 per contract, and they are giving us a better rate of $47.89 per contract. Same deductibles. So we're just requesting to renew with them.
What's the stop loss mark?
So
What is the stop loss mark?
it's $250,000 per person. And then the city also has to make a $125,000 aggregate deductible. And then after that, they pick up and pay.
And have we used it?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Do-
sir.
do
We
we-
normally
Do we routinely use it a few times a year or maybe
Yes,
once a
sir.
year?
we
Okay.
normally have about 4 or 5. You don't know, but we normally have at least 4 or 5 that hit our stop loss, and we
Okay.
get payments from our stop loss carrier, and they're beneficial. It helps us keep our health insurance from,
One totally crazy.
yes.
One case of cancer could do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One major hospitalization. That would kick in
Absolutely.
with it.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments?
Motion approved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
item is approved. Thank you, Ms. Herbert. Item number 2, police and firefighters supplemental retirement fiduciary insurance. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Busby, you may recall, we discussed this
I do,
last year.
actually.
This insures our employees that handle the transactions related to the police and fire pension fund. Excuse me. Last year, that policy cost us $5,494, and this year, their proposals come back as $5,494.
Any questions, comments?
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Item is approved.
The next
Engineers professional liability insurance.
Yes, sir. This is, again, just kind of what it says. This is the liability insurance for our professional engineers, their malpractice insurance. We are a little early on the cycle for it. If you recall kind of how we've tried to organize things, I remember when you were chairman of this committee, we never had it. And so the way I've tried to organize things is
No, when I was chairman of the committee, we did have it.
we hadn't had it previously, I think. The way we try to organize things in OCA is look to the next one, right? And so we know that we don't have another insurance litigation committee until November. And so what I will present you in August is everything that needs renewal between August and November. What that means is some of these items don't need renewal until closer to that time. And so engineers, professional liability insurance is one that we've actually just submitted our completed application, so we don't have a quote yet. It was around $18,000 last year. I don't know what y'all's preference would be. If we come somewhere in the 18 to 20 ballpark, if you want to see it just go straight back on council, or if you want to talk about it in a finance committee, I'm
Yeah,
happy to.
I think it would come to finance if it comes in between.
It went up about $3,000.
So we'll
What was that, Tom?
It went up about $3,000.
From 22 to 23?
Tom's the one in my office that has to run down all the engineers and make them fill out the paperwork on this one.
Does it vary by how many engineers we have?
It should vary by how many engineers we have and by the number, the dollar amount of projects is also included. I assume we will get,
City does.
I believe, and it could, maybe where you're going, and this is a good question that Rick may have to help me on. My guess is that we insure our positions under the assumption, like we budget our positions on the assumption that somebody fills them. And we don't say, okay, we have I saw this morning, Brian's department, they have 27 people, but they have 5 people missing. Let's not get insurance for those 5. I assume we insure fully for that, assuming that we get those people in.
All right. Gentlemen, any questions, comments?
So are we deciding? that
No, I
if
don't think this is a information brief
It will
so
be-
that
yes, sir.
when the pricing comes in,
bring it
we
to
can just look
finance?
at it on finance.
So
This one's due October first.
we'll get into you. Courtney Reese, who was my legal assistant, who Kay has stolen from my office, is the one that really helped me organize these. So we've transitioned to another legal assistant, sort of keeping up and getting these scheduled. She's going to do a great job, but if for some reason one falls and I have to come straight to finance with it, I'll come with my hat in my hand. So next.
Okay, Mr. Manasco.
I will give a brief introduction. You guys have all met and heard from Rick. What I asked him to come do today is we got notice recently from AMIC that their insurance rating has been downgraded. This is something that quite frankly I think is probably a little bit more expected with a company like AMIC that doesn't raise their rates particularly often. They have a lower profit margin and therefore sort of less room for error when you end up with lots of claims. This is something that Rick has actually gone through with the city and with AMIC following the tornado, and we've worked through the process, and it shouldn't have any actual impact on us. But since that happened, I want him to be able to come and talk through it with you guys.
All right, good.
Scott.
Rick, tell us what's going on.
On August the 4th, AMIC was downgraded by AM Best rating service. They downgraded them from an A-, which is an excellent rating, to a B++, which is good. And there has been numerous discussions over the years if AMIC should even participate with AM Best, because AM Best really is a rating service that looks at insurance companies that do insurance across the country. And AMIC is a state-operated insurance company, and they only do municipalities, and they only do business in the state of Alabama, nothing else. And when AM Best takes the information that is provided and they put it into their formula, it doesn't quite add up to the formula that a very, very large insurance company across the board would stack up. And so AMIC is still very financially strong, and we have faced this issue in the past. The AMIC has, they wrote $55 million in premium last year, and they have a capital reserve of $64 million. AMIC is also reinsured, as all insurance companies buy insurance on themselves. But AMIC, to be able to maintain the level of rates that they have for their membership, they maintain a low, I guess you would call it a deductible, between them and the reinsurance carrier. The most out-of-pocket AMIC would ever pay on any claim would be $500,000. The reinsurance company would pay everything else. So with that and their financial strength of over $64 million in reserve, do not see any issue with AMIC being able to pay any claim that ever was presented to them. We had the similar situation to occur after 11, and then in 16 they went back and they got their rating back up to an A-. Made a few changes. Recently, I talked to Scott about this. AMIC has not had a rate increase on their property insurance since 1998. No base rate increase. In July, they sent out a letter to all of their members. They call all their clients members. They sent that out stating that they were going to their actuarials about looking at increasing the rates because the cost of everything has gone up due to inflation. Everyone knows that labor has gone up, price of materials, lumber, tuber force, whatever, has gone up substantially. And so they have done that. And so we've talked a couple of times about what to project. And there's a letter that's going to be, I got a preview copy today with anticipation in the property arena of about a 20% rate increase. But that is a little misleading in that AMIC will not fully implement that 20% based upon the client's loss ratio, history with AMIC, and various other underwriting sundries that they have. So that will be forthcoming. And so what I wanted to bring to you is that, I feel very comfortable with AMIC. Even though this downgrade has occurred, I don't think it impacts anything the city has or does. Secondly, I've talked to some other insurance companies as late as this morning about what they are doing, because most of the insurance companies that write municipalities have withdrawn writing that class of business. And I was informed this morning by one of those insurance companies that they would not be able to compete based upon the terms and pricing that AMIC is currently providing to the city of Tuscaloosa, even with a 20% increase in property rates. AMIC's property for the city of Tuscaloosa premium is $649,354. And that is based on $615,482,260,000 of exposure. So if we were, and so that works out to be about a 95-cent rate. So if you took a $100,000 building, top 95 cents, it's going to be $95 to insure that $100,000 building with a $1,000 deductible. Not only do I insure municipalities, I do a lot of high-value properties all across the state, from the northern part to the Gulf Coast. And Alabama has become what the insurance calls a tornado alley. So most of the insurance companies out there are putting a separate deductible on wind and hail, maybe a percentage of the total TIV that you have, or it will be the total value of that individual property that sustains a damage. The company I was talking to this morning said there was no way they would do a $1,000 deductible across the board at all. Additionally, through AMIC, I have been able to negotiate some extra coverage that we may have never talked about, but we have a coverage for loss of revenue should there be a major storm claim happen here that would prevent the city from generating the revenue that they are accustomed to generating. And you generate your revenue from sales tax, property permits, water and sewer usage. So those are basically what we would be looking at that we would lose. After the 2011 tornado, I believe we had around $100,000 of a claim that was paid by AMIC under that provision. In addition to that, we also have what we call loss of revenue for dependent properties. And dependent properties is like Midtown. If the tornado had just been a few blocks over and had taken out Midtown Village with all of those businesses there, we would have lost a substantial amount of revenue from the loss of their sales tax and or their permits. It didn't happen, but we have $5 million coverage for that item as well. The company I was talking to this morning, 250 is what they would offer. We might could get up to 750 on the total, whereas right now you've got a total of 10. So those kind of things are something that AMIC has done and it provided in their terms of coverage. In addition to that, the automobiles the city has are 857 vehicles. Of those 857, you carry comp and collision on 609 of those vehicles, with a $1,000 deductible for comp and a $1,000 deductible for collision. And the other thing is that we only charge a premium one time a year for those vehicles. If the city were to purchase additional vehicles during the course of the year, they are fully covered with no additional premium. That sword cuts both ways. If the city were to delete vehicles, there is no money returned. But usually the vehicles that the city removes from coverage are the older vehicles that only have liability, so there's not a lot of money on it. You replace them with newer, fully loaded and higher valued vehicles. So there's no charge during the course of the year. It's a composite rate. And the city pays $441,000 for the automobile coverage. In the last 8 months now, we've had 31 claims total here in the city. Well, as 7 months, as of July the 6th. There were 18 automobile claims, there were 9 general liability claims, and there's 4 property claims. And the total payout on that was $212,000. And I'm giving you round numbers. In 22, we had 96 claims. 52 were automobile, 28 were general liability. 2 were inland marine, which is your mobile equipment. And we had 14 property claims for a total of $543,000. And then we had, for 2021, we had 81 claims, 41 were automobile, 26 were general liability, and 14 were property, for a total payout of $629,000. The city's total premium is, for this year that we're currently in, is $1.4 million. So the city has been a very, very favorable client to the insurance company. There's not been a lot of claims paid out. There has been a lot of flexibility on the way the insurance claims are handled, and that's something that I find very, very beneficial when there seems to be a little bit of a gray area, or an area in which we have citizens that are not completely happy with their payment from the city's insurance claims procedure. I can get involved and call the president of the insurance company up. We had a similar situation happen last year. Scott was involved heavily, where we had an officer that supposedly thought he put the vehicle in park. It didn't. It rolled down. It did a lot of damage to a house. It did damage to a gentleman's automobile. We got the value up on that automobile up to a satisfied amount. We settled that easily. We had a similar thing happen that was on a city item the other day. We had a lightning strike at the airport. A regulator was damaged that controls the lights, and the city did what any prudent person probably would do, but you shouldn't do it from an insurance standpoint. And that is they put a Band-Aid on it. They took some old parts off the shelf, off of something that was antiquated, and put it in to make it continue to be operational. All insurance policies, not just Amex, but all insurance policies are the term is either repair or replace. So Amic, taking the information that was provided as a regulator, and they paid for the repair, $6,000 something or so. And so I get a call from Tom on Friday afternoon a week ago and asked if we could do something, intervened on that. Amic agreed to go back, and they have paid for a new regulator, the full $28,000. How much? $22,000. Those are the kinds of things that are extremely important to me as the insurance broker and your risk manager, to make sure that we have the open lines of communication, not only to the claims adjuster, but to the president of the company, so we can make things happen that are in the best interest of the city. And we've been very successful in that. We did the same thing after the tornado, when we had nearly every city environmental service vehicle damaged. We went down there. We told Jimmy to take a folder, write down what needed to be done, put the trucks back on the road. We did that. Then we sat over here in finances conference room, and we negotiated the payout on every one of those vehicles, very, very much to the city's benefit. Also, we had a struggle on a couple of the buildings that the city had, but we worked through every one of those, and they paid to our benefit what we were asking for. And Tom, I keep looking at Tom, excuse me, because he was very involved in that, as we did, and we got what we were expecting to get based upon what we had paid premium for. So I come to you to say that I know that the rating has happened. I do not feel that it is going to impact the way Amic will conduct business. And also, Amic is going to start proceedings, well, actually already have started proceedings to work with another rating service called Demotech. And they take a different view of rating insurance companies than AM Best. They basically are a rating service that are more for regional and specialty insurance carriers and mutual and privately held risk retention companies and single state carriers, which is what Amic is. So their formula is a little bit, or not a little bit, it's a whole lot different than one that goes across the board. So they're doing that, and it looks as if we'll have that rating service complete probably by December, maybe sooner, and fully expect high marks coming back from that based on
So
the
can we
finances.
pause for just a second
Absolutely.
here and educate us a little on, we're certainly familiar with bond rating systems. The big players, Moody's, S&P, and to a lesser extent Fitch, AAA, AA, single A, plus and minuses, triple B. Below that, you're below investment grade, double BB. How does this work in the insurance field? What's the commensurate scale and the players in the field?
Basically, you have AM Best and you have Demotech are the two players in the field that do your
And,
rating
and what are
services.
what are the ratings? Is it
You
triple A, double A, single A?
Yes, you have, hang on just one second. You have A++, which is superior. You have A+, then you have A-, B++, B, and B-. And then if you have a C, which is your lowest, which you know,
And so we've been lowered,
non-satisfactory.
we've been lowered from what to what?
From an A- to a B++.
Okay. And you said we've been through this before. What does
Yes.
that refer to?
What that means is Amic has been downgraded once before from an A- to a B++. And that occurred, I think in 2012, going into 2013. They made some changes with how they were doing business based upon the reserve surplus that they were carrying, and they got their A- rating back in 2016 for 2017 year.
Okay.
So I say, yes, we've been through it. We had the city's insurance placed with them during that period of time. Never had any issues based upon paying the claims.
Rick, are they raising the premium in order to get that rating back? You think they're doing that to turn that around, or?
No, the rating was done prior to ever getting the response back from AM Best. They've been talking about raising their rates since last year. However, in the state of Alabama, we are a submit, approve, file rate for rates. What that means is an insurance company has to go to the Department of Insurance and lay out a plan, what they feel that their rate inadequacy is, and they present their facts to the DOI. The DOI then takes that under consideration based upon what the rating that the rates that the insurance company wants to raise their rates to, or bring their rates down. And at times, the DOI has accepted the proposed rate change, and at other times, they have not and said, no, the maximum amount you're going to be able to raise is this. And that's what they did. But the letter I was referring to that I got a view of this morning that states from the president of AMIC that answers, I think, your question pretty much. It says this increase, if they're going to ask for a rate increase of about 20% on their property. It says this increase will only apply to property coverages, and each member's actual rate could vary up or down based on the application of credits and debits applied during the underwriting process. In the event the actuarials have been too aggressive in their rate, we are committed to returning excess profits to the members, a commitment reinforced by the payment of more than $18 million since 1989 back to the members. So if they were trying to do the rate increase solely on trying to increase their rating with AM Best, they would not put this letter out. So I think that is a pretty strong statement from AMIC on that.
I'll add a couple areas of concern that we had that we looked into to make sure we were covered under. You mentioned bond ratings. We have to file all sorts of stuff with the rating agencies, and certainly when we go and close our bond, our information with the auditors. And so we wanted to make sure that this wasn't a reportable event. And so we touched base with Barry Staples, who does our outside bond counsel work. He ran it down, and so this doesn't have any impact on that. Also, there are some contracts we have specifically with places like university, maybe some other entities that require a certain an A minus or better rating of insurance, and we verified that the reinsurance company's rating in those instances will pass through. So there shouldn't be any impact on us.
Okay, and is the simple math correct? If we're paying $1.4 million and we're going up 20%, are we about to pay $280,000 more?
That's $1.4 million is on the total insurance premium.
So it's just on the property,
Just on the
not
property.
the vehicles?
Yes.
So that's just the 659?
Six,
You said the
641.
vehicles were 441, I think.
yes, 441.
And
so
the
it'd
property was
was the vehicles, and we had 649 for the property.
629 or
649.
49. Okay. So that's about to go up 20%?
Well, it could go up, or it's based, I don't think it's gonna go up that much. That's why I gave you what your losses have been, because in this letter, it says the rate increase will only apply to property coverages, and each member's actual rate could vary up or down based on the application of credits and debits. So that means that, with losses that the city has had based upon the ones I just read to you, I don't see that being a total 20% across the board to you. No, I do not.
And when will we know that?
Well, our insurance renews in February. We will be starting on all of the fact gathering information in late October, early November. Whereas the procedure that I undertake is I meet with each of the departments, with either the department head or their designee, and we evaluate every single asset that department has, whether it be building, computers, vehicles, equipment, whatever it may be. And at that point in time, we try to do a very good job of understanding, do we need to, has there been something built, has there been something not built, or is there something that's no longer in service, and we take that off the schedule. Now, I will tell you, just in the last 2 weeks, we had not been notified to add coverage for the new water tank tower on campus. And on Sunday after church, I drive around the city a lot of times on Sunday to look and see if there's any new or displaced items that I've not been made aware of, and I saw it was in operation. So immediately on Monday sent Scott an email, and we got coverage placed on that day for that exposure.
And so just so that the council is aware, this information was, it's still obviously in its infancy stage when we finalize budget for fiscal 24. So any rate increase that will possibly be coming down the pipeline is not taken into account when you look at your insurance budgeted items. I think from what Mr. Manasco is saying, we still kind of don't know that exposure amount. And so, on a conservative basis, if you would like to add any amount to the insurance budgets, maybe we can think about that with the additional revenue that was considered this morning.
Remind me, Ms. Standridge, where is the insurance premium housed in the budget?
Insurance costs are housed in the other operating section of the general fund.
Just flat other operating general fund.
So in other operating is a category, so it's in a detailed line item. Property insurance, general liability insurance are all broken out specifically within that other operating category.
Rick, that number was about 650 though, wasn't it, that you said on the property? So you're talking about if the worst case scenario had maybe 130,000 maybe,
Yeah, exactly.
but probably not that much.
Probably not that much, but I bring up this water tower. It was $1 million. I forget what the value was right off the top of my head. It was $1 million plus.
That'll go into
Yeah.
that.
And that will be added
that
to.
pot next year, right?
Yes.
Well, as will, and that's one of the things that Rick does a phenomenal job. I mean, he goes through buildings and everything else. We have to remember anything additional that opens and comes online since our last insurance binding will be added on there. I'm trying to remember where in the calendar take home police cars, which would have resulted in additional police cars. So we will have gotten a gift for this year of not paying additional amount for those extra cars, but that'll catch up with us next year.
Right.
And the policy renews, so was it May? When do we renew?
February is when you take that action.
No, but we just went through a big RFQ process
Yes, sir, last
to
summer.
reaward the business, and that was when?
Last summer.
Last summer.
Yes, sir. I don't remember the
And
exact
then the
dates.
policy renews in February, Rick. And when is the premium paid? And it's just one payment per year
For the big policy, we pay in February.
in February.
Yes, sir. And then there are, as you saw, the two items today. There are all the other ones, but
We can, if there is an option, if you want to make the payment on a monthly or quarterly basis as well.
No, that's not what I was getting at. I was just trying to connect the flash to bang time on when it's paid.
When you did the RFQ, we weren't awarded to proceed until late in 22 for the 23 term. So we delivered that a little bit late to that. But me and my assistant, I spend an enormous amount of time with each department trying to understand any of the additions that we have, just like the police vehicles that we'll be adding on and things like that. And like the water tower or whatever, any of those properties. We try to be proactive in doing that and try to do it at least twice a year. And I've done that already once with some of the departments. There's been some department changes, mainly meeting with legal and get those. But with that said, I still think we have a very, very, very favorable insurance program. Again, I go back to the inflation that we all see. The university has made a couple of different statements. They can't build a new coliseum because of the price of construction and things have gone up, and that's happened. So AMIC is trying to raise their rates in order to pay for that increased cost, because we have this on blanket basis, which means that we have a dollar amount that is on this building, but if we need to borrow from this one to cover this one, we have enough in there to cover that. But we have to always make sure that we are staying as close to the replacement cost guidelines that's set forth in the policy for that coverage to be triggered.
All right, Ms. Sanders, I do think we should program that in for the 24 budget.
When we come back on Tuesday next week for the next budget hearing, we'll have a recommendation on what to increase it for.
Okay. Mr. Fail, Mr. Crowe,
I'm good.
questions?
Thank you, Rick.
comments?
Appreciate
Tom, is there anything additional you need to provide us?
no, sir, I don't think so.
Okay, Mr. Manasco, thank you for coming in.
One last thing, I do have Amic's financials, if you would like for me to leave them with you.
Please copy. Yes,
I will do that. Thank you.
all right. Well, is there any other business to be brought before property and insurance, or litigation and insurance? I'm sorry.
We're back on Halloween. Halloween.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Suck.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.